Hey guys, Shaye Baker here. Got episode 10 of Predicting Patterns talking about table rock this week for the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour event. And kind of snuck up on me a little bit. Today's Friday, it's early in the morning before work, and they having this one at the end of the week, starting at the end of the week instead of starting at the beginning like they've been doing. So kind of snuck up on me, but we got a pretty good indicator of what's going to be going on this week because last weekend there was a FLW Coaster there. So we're going to look at that a lot, and I'm actually not going to have a guest today. I'm just going to primarily look at this past tournament because it's the first time we've had one. We had one, I think, Smith, that was pretty much back to back between two different trails. But let's go ahead and hop over and look. First thing we'll look at too is the weather. The weather looks like it's going to be beautiful up there this week. Got a little bit of rain in the forecast, but 79, 78, 79, 77. No drastic lows. You got 53 one night, but the weather's looking pretty good. And if you look over here at the top 10 patterns from Table Rock last week, like I said, it was just a few days ago, and like they had some mixed in rain and all. And a lot of guys, I kind of skimmed through this. A lot of guys are talking about sight fishing in the winter here. Let's see. I mean, you got a lot of guys were wanting to sight fish, and some guys just fishing. It really looks like the fish were all over the place. One guy actually says that. I think he finished down here in, let's see, Mansfield. He says, within 30 minutes of going shallow, I was like, oh, they're here. Then I went out to a point. I was like, okay, they're here too. They were everywhere. They were all biting. So I think that you'll see a lot more of that too. Especially those fish spread out. They're going to kind of stay spread out because some are already up spawning. They're going to come back out while others go up and spawn. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a few spawners this week, but with so much focus on the bass spawn in this tournament last week, I bet you the shad spawn's the deal this week. It's got to be. I've never fished Table Rock. I've covered a couple tournaments there. I covered a tournament in the fall when James Watson won, and he was throwing the topwater a bunch, and covered a tour event there a long time ago, FLW tour in the spring, seems like, and got a little muddy. And one of the big things then, you can pull up on any bank with a squarebill and catch them. But anyway, this tournament here, like I said, I've never fished up there this time of year. But if I was going just completely blind, I would think that a shad spawn would be the deal. There's got to be. I know there's a lot of bait in there. The shad's got to be spawning. So, like I said, a little bit of sight fishing probably still going on. A lot of guys like Bohannon here just went up the White River, and looks like he just went fishing Texas red, an Ocho weightless fishing around brush. I saw a guy here that led the first 2 days. Let's see. Led the first 2 days. Morris throwing a frog way up the James River, I believe. So that would be, another thing. They may be guarding fry. If there were this many on bed, they will be guarding fry. Some of them will. So you'll see some guys catching fish on top waters and wacky rig Cincos and stuff like that, shallow, where the bass are guarding fry. They also talk a little bit about the water being a little higher than normal in this one. I saw somewhere in this article. So that gives you a rough place to start. We'll jump over to the Angler app, see if we can't put down a few places to look. Said I don't fish this lake very often, so it's going to be kind of a good example of really just trying to predict patterns off the fly. I've been having some really good guests lately, and they've helped a lot in kind of narrowing the search down. But let's see. So one thing you can set some dots here. That's really good for the shad spawn. So it's on the bottom end of the lake too, which typically is a little clearer and have a good bit of shad. I'll mark that marina there. But I also like a lot of riprap during the shad spawn. Can't tell you. There looks like there's a bunch of riprap here, and I would assume you can fish it. Some of these dams and stuff are off limits, so they have buoy lines, but I think you can fish that. So mark that. But yeah, that's what I would primarily look for. Just stuff even like this right here. Just it looks like a buoy line or something there in front of that. But the shallow humps and things like that. The shad are liable to be spawning under the surface on those. And another big thing to think about, especially with MLF in this kind of format and all, we saw it at Smith last week, fishing for release fish. I don't know what boat ramp these guys went out of. Let's see if we can figure that out. But that could be a huge deal, is fishing around these boat ramps. I don't know exactly where. I'd have to look it up, but I believe that would be somebody will do really well around one of these main ramps where these tournaments go out of, especially this one where it was last week. There's another marina here. Table Rock kind of fishes like Lake Martin, which is a big lake around here in Alabama. And, just from seeing kind of what happens there, like I said, I haven't ever fished there much. There's another marina. I'd run a few of these and just see if the shad are spawning against those docks. And from what they were saying, these points, just pulling up on points with a finesse bait, Ned rig, shaky head. There's a lot of smallmouth spots and largemouth in Table Rock, so you could probably catch a lot of those spots and smallmouth spawning too. Let's see. Another marina. A lot of marinas, which is kind of good when the shad are spawning because they might not be spawning in every one of them, but if you've got 10 or so, some guys might not find the one. Like if you got one marina, a lot of guys go check it because it's just an easy thing, and then 5 or 6 guys will find the fish in them. But if you can get kind of spread out and have a few different marinas, not have them on them, and then you pull in the right one and you're one of the only guys to find them, that's a big deal. Let's see. These rivers and creeks and all look pretty good. There's another marina way up there. Be interesting to see too this week. Like Smith, a lot of guys were complaining about finding a lot of shad spawn and herring spawns without fishing them. So they were saying they were spawning everywhere, but there were very few places where the fish had found them. Be interested to see if that's the same case here, or if it's more centralized and there's only a few places where they're spawning and the fish are in them good. And I get a sip of the coffee. It's pretty early this morning, in case you can't tell. But looking at the back of this pocket here, you kind of go into this deal. Looks like I really like a little creek, and there's only a few docks, and in the very back, I kind of like that. When there's not a lot of cover like that, especially if they drop the water back down a little bit, which I don't know if they did or not. I doubt they did because they got a pretty good bit of rain, looks like last week. But I like little areas like that where there's not a lot of cover, and then there's a pretty good bit in the very back where it's shallow. There's another marina there. Another set of boat docks. Kind of in these short little stubby pockets. I like those too, where there's easy access to the main lake. Let's see. This thing is pretty widespread. It looks like you can move around a lot. There'll be a lot of guys too here this week with a lot of experience on Table Rock. You got a lot of FLW tournaments have gone there, and the elites have been up that way in recent years. I think mostly seems like they had one on Lake of the Ozarks a few years ago where Christie might have won. But that's really a big stomping grounds for FLW with Ranger nearby. You got a lot of those lakes up there that FLW frequented a lot. And another guy to watch out for this week is James Watson. He lives on a lake. And like I said, he won the Open I covered in October a few years ago. He'll be a big threat this week because he has so much knowledge about the lake. But again, several guys will have a good bit of knowledge about it. There's another marina. There's some sort of, it's marina boat slips, and they're just covered. I don't know. I mean, I honestly think about just running a lot of these marinas. When I first got there, I'd run at least 4 or 5 of them if I saw no activity whatsoever. I probably wouldn't even fish much. I'd get up and just check just to make sure they weren't under the surface, but you should see them kind of ticking along. If the shad are spawning there, you should see them kind of ticking along the pontoons or the floats of the docks. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I like going way up these creeks and rivers, but I've never done it, and I don't really know how far you can go in these. A lot of times there'll be rapids or something like that kind of cutting you off. You can't make it all the way to the dam, but you may be able to here. I don't know. It doesn't look like you can't. There's a couple shallow spots there, but who knows? Maybe it'll slide through them. There's like a couple of boats, kayaks right there. It looks like, so I don't know. But I mean, if you could get up here in this kind of stuff, it's maybe where someone was throwing topwaters, frogs and stuff. It looks pretty. I like the looks of that. I don't even know if you can get up here, but I'm gonna mark it. Let's see. Look at Navionics. See if we can tell if it hadn't restarted. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty skinny, pretty shallow. I doubt you can make it up there. I think that was where I was looking at, a little oxbow type deal. Might be able to make it up there pretty good ways though. That's the White River, the Beads Table Rock. So I don't know. It's got a good defined channel on one side, which I like too a lot. If you go up there, you want to crank some. You don't know all these little transition deals where it goes from the flat to the deeper part, and all these little points like this right here, where there's a good sharp point with a little pocket and good depth change. Anywhere like in there. So some of those points might be good to just go up and crank. Let's see, that we're back down. I thought it was quite that far down yet. Yeah, there's that deal there. So some of these points down here, just because there's such a defined channel, and I don't remember exactly which ones, but when I was running, I just looked to see where the channel swung in the closest. Those deals could be good cranking, like a square bill or a little Spro Little John or something like that. Like this is a little about 5 or 6 foot diver, something like that, kind of like a square bill but dived a little bit deeper. Big wigglewort country too, which is a little late in the year for the big rush on that, but I think a lot of those guys up there use it year round. It's associated a lot with cold water, but I mean it's a crankbait. You can catch them on it all the time. Here's another little marina. Let's go back over to Navionics for a minute. This is the James River. This is where the Morris guy was throwing a frog, he said, way up the James River. So just kind of look to see where that splits, what it looks like on satellite imagery. Let's see. Hard to tell. Let's see. It's about right in here. Said the water cleared up on them and it shut them down. Dry creek. I don't know, I'm so vegetation oriented when it comes to thorn frog, and that's just my fault from living around a bunch of vegetation, because we have so much down here in the south that you have to pick the type of vegetation. You have to like really break it down. So I've caught some just fishing, bare banks and around docks. And really the big thing in situations like this where there's not a lot of cover is you use shade as a cover. Like, say here where there's a little bit of shade on this bank, I would actually rather it be probably just like one tree sticking out, like that one sticking out a little further. If that was right on the bank there, then I would like to, you can actually target those fish. Because a lot of times those fry will get in that shade, or the fish will just sit there in the shade and use it as an ambush point for bluegill and stuff when they come by. So that's one thing to target when there's not a lot of cover is the shade lines and little shade pockets and stuff, especially with the top water. So you see a shade all down, depending on what time of day it is. You fish, like the shade deal too, to me has always been the best, right? 10 to 2 is kind of what I look for. Like, that's when the shade starts getting tighter to the bank, and then it goes away, and then it gets tighter, or it starts off real tight, the bank gets a little bit bigger and bigger on the other side as the sun moves directly overhead. So that 10 to 2 time frame is when the shade is tight enough to kind of give them that ambush point. So I like it then. Earlier, I don't like to just take like a buzz bait and go down a shade line that's a quarter mile long or whatever. I like to have those little pockets of shade, little individual trees and stuff like that. That's all that's really providing shade at the time. I like this point right here for some reason. Look, you see, it's a sharp point. I can see right here. Pretty good little depth. Good channel swing there too. It's a good little point. Looks like too. A couple boat ramps. Another marina. Yeah, I like that right there a lot in front of that marina. This is really just a crapshoot today because I don't know that much about it, but that's kind of the cool things about it. Kind of the whole idea too is just try to find them without really knowing. Let's see. I think I was looking at 2 different points there. Yeah, I think that point was up there. So I was looking down here. Where'd it go? There it is. So it's a pretty shallow point right here in front of these docks. So, of course, from right there checking that point, I'd go ahead and check those docks too. This is that other point I was talking about I want to check. Mark the wrong one up there, we'll go. There's another one of these pockets with some docks in the very back. I like that. Again, I think these fish, if they go in these pockets and spawn, when they come off bed, they want to get around something. They want some kind of cover, and that's a good deal when you got these little shallow docks in the back of these pockets where we want to get under. You skip a Cinco under them, or even throw a swim bait by them or something like that, and catch some of those fish that are kind of resting up, recuperating. But let's see. So we look kind of way up some of these places. Marked a few marinas. See if we can't tell a little something more about maybe just some points and stuff coming back down the river. Have a little bit of a sampling of different things. That's probably a good one right there. It's real steep and deep on this side, but on the pocket side, it's kind of shallow, at least on the tip of it here. I like the looks of that. See what that is. Kind of hard to see this. Take a look at the image here. So we're still up above where it breaks off. I guess it is. Yeah, that's it right there. Alright, so right here, I like that one, and I like this one because it kind of runs out. So we'll mark both of those. We actually have paper maps in here now for some of the premium map package that just got released with some contours on it too. So it's a little easier now. You can see, I mean, it's not as detailed, but you can still see here where there's a sharp drop. This is all inside the Angler app here because you got the USGS paper maps, paper contour maps brought in. So it actually makes using the app a lot easier because you don't have to bounce back and forth from Navionics to, and you know, if you find something on here that looks pretty good and you want to go check it out on Navionics, you can still do that. But just like I've been bouncing back and forth, it's a lot easier now just to stay within one app and drop your waypoints and, you know, mark everything you want to mark. So here's another good spot where the channel kind of comes around and then slams into this wall here. I like that. Seems like that'd be a good place for smallmouth. I don't know, but like just kind of up on this flat here. This is kind of more transition style. Not really steep point on the inside there. That's a total guess. That's just a very limited knowledge I have about smallmouth. There's another place where the point kind of comes out, shallows up. The problem and the good thing about a lake like Table Rock. The problem is usually there's a lot of small fish, a lot of fish in general. So you're going to catch a lot of small fish and get a lot of bites, and in practice that kind of can mess you up because, you know, it's probably going to be pretty hard. I saw somewhere in here too. There's a lot of water to be covered between 3-pounders. They're few and far between. So for traditional style tournament, even for these guys, I mean, they're still trying to catch big ones. You catch 1 4-pounder, it counts the same as 4 little ones. So you can get further down the road in a hurry as far as trying to get weight. Catching big ones still, obviously. So, but I think that the good thing for this format is there are so many fish in here, and you could probably take something like they're talking about, like a Ned rig or a shaky head, and just hit a bunch of these points and catch a ton of fish, or like a Kitech. If those fish start kind of going ahead and getting out and moving around some, probably take like a little Kitech or like a little 3-inch missile bait shockwave, little swim bait type deal like that on a jig head and catch them. Let's see. I mean, other than that, as far as like running around trying to find them on bed and that kind of deal, I don't think that's going to be wide open anymore. But there might be a few, and I don't think it's going to play that much in this just because you don't want to spend time on a bedding fish. If somebody stumbles on a big one, they'll spend a little bit of time on it. But even then, they won't do like normal because, I mean, if you spend 30 minutes on a 6-pounder, you could have probably caught 6 little ones pretty easily. So I don't think you'll see a lot of that. But there may be a little left. Shad spawn, again, I think that'll be the deal. Let's turn this back to satellite. I don't know. And I think the other big deal will be the marina. Let's see if we can tell where they're coming out of on this one. Where they came out of on this tour event. Or coast event, I'm sorry. I was looking for the tour event there. Alright, Central Table Rock. See if they have like an info sheet or. Oh, they weighed in at Branson on the final day, maybe all day, all 3 days. I don't know. All right, here we go. Here's the info sheet. So takeoff was at Table Rock State Park Marina, and I know so little about this place. I don't even know exactly where that is. So let's see if we can find it on here right quick. Table Rock State Park. That's not right. It is over there. Yeah, so it looks like it's right down here at the bottom of the lake, which, I mean, that's where I thought it was, to be honest with you, but wasn't sure. So, yeah, right down here. That's where the FLW stuff usually goes out of, now that I think about it. Any and all of this stuff, where these fish are getting released, like, look at this. I didn't see these earlier. That was like a little bunch of little bushes. That could be good for a topwater, especially if they're garden fry or the shad are spawning around all those bushes. Throw a frog, skip a frog up in there, or a cinco, or a float worm, or something like that. Well, I like the looks of that. I didn't realize all that was down there. There's a bunch of it. It's weird. It's like only in this, maybe in other places too, I guess, but there's a little bit of it there. Yeah, I like the looks of all that a lot. I think you'll see a lot of guys fishing around that stuff if the water's up in it good. But that kind of snuck up on me and surprised me. I like the looks of that a lot. But what I was going to say about down here, there's so many fish that got released here last week with I would assume, with FLW, unless they took them somewhere else. But any and all of this, whatever's, I don't think there will be any off limits on this kind of stuff because they don't have a release area that MLF doesn't. So, like that little hump we already marked earlier could be good. Anything around here, points, pockets, shoreline stuff, this rip wrap around the corner, anything with a shad spawn is liable to be loaded because there's just so many fish that got dumped in right there. But I can see that in playing a lot right there, that around that ramp. Then, outside of that, shad spawn release areas, it's pretty straightforward stuff I would look for to start with, and I think that's what they'll do too. I mean, these guys get 2 days of practice, and like I said, a lot of them have history on this lake, but still, I mean, it's a big lake to break down. So I think you'll see guys, running marinas trying to find that deal, and then fishing around release areas, and maybe just blind fishing some bedding areas where they're not really looking for them, but maybe have a bunch of fish spawning in a few areas still. I just don't know how much of that's going to be left, but there's a look at it anyway. Should be an exciting week. So it's always a fun lake to watch because there are spots, smallmouth and largemouth, and I wouldn't even know where to begin on trying to target smallmouth in particular. I would probably just go fishing and maybe accidentally catch a few. Hopefully they were big ones, but I think you'll catch them in a lot of places. You catch some of those spots and on those points and deals like that. But I'd look for largemouth around, like I said, those shad spawns, and then any kind of shoreline cover you got. Or there might be garden fry or in those release areas, and that's kind of where I'd start. So we'll see if I'm right at all, wrong. I kind of gave you a lot of stuff, so more than likely I'll be right about some of it and wrong about some of it. So we'll see. Episode 10, Predicted Patterns. Check it out. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Share it with somebody, and we'll see y'all next time.